Welcome back. You're watching World Talks on TVP World. I'm Anna Kalczyńska. Well, Europe stands at a critical crossroads. The continent faces renewed trade tensions with the United States, growing supply chain disruptions caused by China's restrictions on rare earth exports, and internal challenges such as Bulgaria's decision to adopt the euro. Transatlantic relations falter and economic uncertainty increases. So how prepared is Europe to defend its industries, protect its currency union, and assert its strategic independence? To discuss these pressing issues, I'm joined by Konrad Popławski, project coordinator at the Center for Eastern Studies. Good morning, sir, and thank you for joining us here on TVP World.
Good morning, hello.
So the Bulgarians are divided on euro approval. Do you think Bulgaria is truly ready to adopt the euro, or is this European Commission's support more political than economic?
It's a very difficult and tough question for the government in Bulgaria because politically the moment is very sensitive, as we know that for at least a few years Bulgaria political scene is pretty unstable. We had a lot of irregular elections, very weak governments, and growing social problems because of demography, because of the economic situation. On the other hand, we see that Bulgaria economically is quite viable. They have quite low taxes. They had very, very disciplined public finances with one of the lowest public debts in the whole European Union. And actually, they are already for years functioning in so-called currency board, so pretty closely imitating the European Central Bank's policy. So to be honest, it's not so big a big deal, this change, but it will be irrevocable. So if Bulgaria goes that way, they cannot withdraw easily the Eurozone. So it's a one-way street. So I hope that maybe government hopes that the country is strong and economy could manage it.
And so what are the analyses? How might euro adoption impact inflation and the cost of living, especially in sectors like food, energy, and housing? How will that affect the more vulnerable parts of Bulgarian societies?
So there are a lot of controversies about adoption of the euro based on the experience of other member states, and especially member states from the Central Europe. So basically, if the state doesn't try to somehow control the growth of the prices, it could be the entering to the eurozone could be easily used as an excuse by sellers and traders to increase prices of many goods. There was, for example, so-called espresso effect in Italy. So all the coffees where the prices of them were increased to the €1 because it was the lowest value of the currency. So we know that Bulgarian state structures are not very strong, institutions are not very strong, so we could experience this effect. On the other hand, it's difficult based on the experience of Lithuania, Baltic states, or Croatia even recently. We cannot say that Eurozone is a decisive factor to increase inflation. So rather it could stabilize, of course, if the country manage it well and is prepared to the accession. And I hope that Bulgaria did its homework as it prepared already some time for that.
And given the political instability and protests like those organized by the Revival Party, how confident are you that Bulgaria will meet both the technical and societal readiness criteria by January 2026?
I think it's the most difficult part of the job. So accessing the Eurozone with so low approval rates, because some expect that there is even 10 percentage point of majority of people who are against Euro accession. It's very controversial.
So let me now change.
When yeah.
Let me now, excuse me, because we've experienced some technical problems. If you want to, you can of course finish your sentence and.
So I would just say that it will be pretty difficult and proper. I hope that we will have government stability, because otherwise it could easily transfer into disapproval ratings, as we know, especially as we know that economic situation in the whole European Union, it's not very easy.
All right, let me now turn to the more broader picture here in Europe. How vulnerable is the European automotive industry to China's export curbs on rare earth, and what contingency plans are being considered here in Europe to prevent the long-term production disruptions?
Generally, European car industry is very vulnerable to Chinese pressure, to Chinese competitiveness. For recent years, we observed that EU producers have huge problems in adapting to the technology of electric vehicles. Basically, China controls production of batteries thanks to access to the rare earth resources, especially to the capabilities of processing them and refining them. And that's why, and actually the European Union was having the recent times to adapt to the situation and to increase our leverage and our access to the rare earth resources in other parts of the world, because actually we know that China uses this instrument of bans of rare earth resources occasionally already for more than 10 years. So actually 2010 was the first such attempts to use it as a pressure, as a leverage. So actually, it seems that we are very sensitive, and some producers are assessing that before the end of vacation, they could have problems with continuing production of electric vehicles due to lack of the magnets, which are produced out of rare earth resources.
We're just talking about it here on TVP World extensively, that Europe is seeking special programs to extract raw materials from other parts throughout the planet. But do you imagine a situation potentially that with some auto parts plants already suspending output, do you foresee, for instance, widespread factory shutdowns in Europe if export licenses from China continue to be delayed or even denied?
Okay, according to some media outlets, we've had already such situation in some factories. So it's already not enough of exporting of rare earths. But I don't think that China will use it as an ultimate tool, because they know that they could very easily downgrade their credibility. And they are also sensitive to some backlashes from the European Union, because we are also huge export market for China, and China is also not in so good economic shape because they have huge problem with real estate crisis. So I would rather expect like such a playing field, try and intimidate EU for some concessions, but not using it to downgrade the EU automotive industry. I don't expect that they will use it to such extent, because it would really decrease the level of political relations. So I would prefer. I would expect that though the costs of these licenses could grow, and it will be highly problematic, but not that it will be existential problem.
Not deadly.
Yeah.
All right, so who stands to lose the most in this escalating tariff dispute? Is it European industries dependent on the US market access, or the American manufacturers who rely on specialized European steel?
This is a very huge bet, and it's very difficult to assess right now who could be a winning part. We know that Americans would like to change the system of globalization. They don't want so open globalization. They think that it's not so conducive anymore for them. So they are betting on a more closed economy or strong concessions of the European Union. And actually they have quite strong cards in their hands. So I expect that EU will have to make some serious concessions, at least, for example, lower the custom duties on the American cars exported to the European Union, and maybe one-sided. It will be one-sided concessions. But I also think that Americans don't have such capacity to totally close the economy or use tariffs too extensively, because we see that even Donald Trump had already to do some concessions towards China, towards European Union. So probably he would like to get some real political concession to show for his electorate that he's fighting really tough to make America great again. But it's also not so that he has ultimate instruments to make it happen. It should be a process. So even if he indicates a new trend, if he launches a new trend, it's already a success for the American side. And we will see if the EU could be very solidar in opposing the pressure of Americans.
We know that Donald Trump raises the tariffs on steel and aluminum. Do you believe that this tragedy risks damaging transatlantic economic cooperation more than really addressing the root problem, that is the global overcapacity?
So I think that Americans, first of all, expect you would with them on a fight with Chinese overcapacity. And Chinese overcapacity is a real thing. It's a real problem because China invested really huge amounts on the manufacturing sectors, and we cannot live with China having so huge overcapacities, because China is too big to have such overcapacity. They need also to bet more on internal demand and invest also in consumption inside China. Without that, the world will become very, very disbalanced and prone to political disputes. So I hope that EU and US could make together a front and also demand from China to change structure of their economy and to be more also import driven.
Thank you so much, sir, for those valuable insights here on TVP World. I really enjoyed that and looking forward for another meeting. Konrad Popławski, Project Coordinator at the Center for Eastern Studies. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching World Talks on TVP World. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Please stay tuned to TVP World.